about this idea of sin, but I mean, not idea, the concept of sin, and then this idea of freedom and autonomy. You bring that out in a way where you really zoom in on Babel early on, and our desire for autonomy apart from God, just this idea of casting off restraints, of being and making a name for ourselves, and doing basically the end justifies the means, whatever we need to do in order to get there. And then you delve into the world of technique. And it's interesting that you brought that out. I wanted to talk about that for a moment, because I don't think many leaders in our churches think about this concept of technique, because it's best practices. Whatever I need to do to get him to Jesus, to get him in there, that's what I need to do. But in doing so, they employ means that become actually very dehumanizing in the process, because people become products to get to glory, rather than understanding the fully embodied self of who they are. But can you talk to us or explain to us a little bit about what is the bad of technique and what is the good of technique? And even just what is technique might even be a better way to start off before we get any further into it. Go ahead.
I'm getting it from a Christian Protestant French theorist from the mid-20th century called Jacques Derrida. And he wrote 3 books on technique, the most famous of which is The Technological Society. And he goes into huge depth about this thing that he thinks fundamentally characterizes modern society. And I think he's got a really good point. He says it begins, before modern society, with ancient magic. And he says what magic tries to do is shortcut processes. It tries to get you the result right here, right now. And in a sense, it's an ethic of efficiency. What's my quickest way to get what I want? Well, say a magic spell, go to the shaman, whatever. That's the way to shortcut doing it the hard way. And he says that this same instinct of technique fundamentally characterizes modern society. So it's all today about efficiency. What is the most efficient way to get done what I need to get done? And part of his critique of it is that the tragedy of this is that efficiency, which is a means, not an end, has itself become the end. So what we seek to do now is become more efficient. Why? Well, because that's more efficient. Yeah, but why are we trying to be more efficient? Because that's more efficient. It's a means in ends clothing, I think is the way that I put it in the book today. And you can see this in caricatures of the profit motive in business. Why do we make more profit? Because we want to make more profit. Well, why? Because that's what we're about. Yeah, and it becomes circular. And this paradigm of efficiency, he is arguing, sort of, it's the air we breathe. Like, that is default mode for us now. How can we get it done in the quickest way possible? And I think the point that you're making is that has crept into church culture as well. What, to put it in this crass way, what magic spell can I say in order to get where I want to get, to grow my church, or to do whatever it is? It doesn't have to be growing a church, it can be whatever. And Ellul is saying that the huge danger in that is that you lose any sense of greater ends. That efficiency, it works reasonably well as a means among other means. It's not terribly healthy if it's the only means, but it's a terrible end, because what it does is it begins molding human beings around the goal of efficiency itself. So it takes human beings out of the center of things, and we then, you and I, become means to the end of efficiency. And that dehumanizes us in all sorts of ways. And, the lifestyle of productivity is one of the ways in which this happens. I see my life as about becoming more productive, and I can become really, really productive if I dehumanize myself in significant ways, and if I become a slave to that ethic of productivity. And therefore you very much put the cart before the horse, and you end up seeing human beings as a means to the end of greater efficiency and greater productivity, rather than seeing efficiency and productivity as part of your toolbox of means, along with others, to the end of a flourishing human life. And so that's his critique. Part of his critique of modern society, I think, is incredibly powerful. Look, I see it in my own life. I'm not sort of talking as someone who's, thank goodness that I don't, get sucked in by this productivity idea and this efficiency idea. No, it's a struggle for me. I would be surprised if it's not a struggle for everybody today, because it's so ingrained in the way that we're catechized in modern society. I want to grow, I don't know what it is, my personal brand or my, footprint online or whatever it is. And that becomes the end. And I become a means, if you like. I commoditize and marketize myself. This is the whole social media thing, isn't it? In order to make myself into a means to achieve that end of increased efficiency and increased productivity. And you don't have to read far into the Bible to get the sense that is not a flourishing human life. That is not how God wants us to be. We are not a means to that end. So that's Ellul's idea of technique.